All right, we start. Welcome. It's January 28th. We're in select board meeting. We're starting tonight with the capital budget. But first we have room for public comment. Anybody? Public comment? No public comment means we go to agenda changes. I think we have 2 items on the agenda tonight. Are we adding anything?
Yeah, Camilla wanted to add Julie Burns' appointment to the cemetery commission. And do you want to hold off on the warning language? Okay.
So we'll do that depending on how long the capital budget. We should have time before town garage starts, unless we get really involved. So let's start with capital budget. We have about, 20 line items. Total capital budget increase is around 8%, but we're going to go through it line by line. So first item, top of the capital budget is the highway department budget, equipment line item, which is flatline, $280,000. This is to buy trucks, graders, loaders, all of the above. Do we have
And paving, right?
no, that's separate.
I do have. Oh yeah, sorry, no, it is. I do have. I'm asking about
The actual.
yeah. The actual in that account is $389,893.
Okay, so basically, we do have one truck that is ordered. But other than that, I think we might be ordering another sooner because we've discovered it takes 2 years to get a truck from order date to delivery date. So, but we think that is the right amount. Does anybody want to discuss or change that? All right, let's move on to the fire department equipment. Fire department is raising $10,000. So last year's budget, we added $140. This year, we're adding $150. That's a 6.67% increase. So $10,000 added to the capital budget for fire department equipment. We actually just had Jeff Campbell in last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever, to discuss the purchase of a new, what would we call that?
Utility truck.
Thank you. So we are funding that with that in mind, and also with whatever's the next truck up.
Yep.
And the fire department has a very good line on those things. So any questions or discussion about fire department equipment?
Just clarification.
Yeah.
They're asking for 150 this year instead of 140, not 10. Okay, yeah. 10 more than we asked for last year, right?
Yeah. Correct.
What do you have the current balance on that one, Rebecca?
Yep, their current balance is $394,343.
I just don't have all of that anywhere, so I might as well make a note. Thanks.
Rebecca can send us that in an email later. Okay, next is town reappraisal. Town reappraisal is happening this year. The listers let us know what they need to pay the bills to get that done. And they're going to have a flat budget of $81,000. So no increase, just $81,000 added to, what's already there?
Added to $571,130.
Which seems like a lot, but it goes quick because, every town is trying to reappraise right now, and it's a bit of a free for all.
571 for 30.
Any questions about town reappraisal? Next is
Dave
town,
has a question.
oh, sorry, Dave.
I'm just curious, like, how long does this take, or you envision it taking?
The reappraisal itself? I think, didn't Sandra say that it was gonna be done this coming summer?
Yeah.
And I would say by next spring it'll be done, but I don't guarantee that, but what you can do is either stop in and see the listers. Or next time we have them up, we can ask that question.
I
Right.
think she said it would be quicker than that. As I recall, we were surprised.
I thought it was gonna be this year, but I'm just trying to build in
Yeah,
some, holding down expectation. Because these things, yeah, I don't trust them to actually happen on schedule. Let's see, town mapping has $0. We haven't put money into town mapping in years. And
It's because, we weren't being charged anything, because updates weren't happening. And we just signed a contract with CAI, who does a lot of municipalities for a new mapping system.
but that's not in the.
That's not,
what
that's
is
not
that?
correct,
It's
but
not
we
in the
didn't,
capital.
we have plenty of money in that line item to pay for that.
Right. So
Sandra
I
was
think
all
this
set.
town mapping is more of a holdover
Yep.
from when we did the original, the big push to
Mhm.
do it. That's why it was a capital account.
Yeah.
We might want to consider in the future removing that if we don't think it's going to be a capital need.
Yep.
Or maybe it will be, we can find out. Next is the conservation fund. Conservation fund, we are upping from 10,000. No, this is
it's
not
flat.
true. So why is actual only 10,000? That
Yeah.
doesn't seem right.
That's all they spent in capital for the land acquisition.
Oh, okay, that's what they spent.
Yeah.
Got it. So last year we budgeted 20,000. This used to be an item, article from the floor at town meeting. And during COVID, we kind of shortcut that since it was being voted in every year, and we put it as a capital line item. And then they do a further ask usually from the floor, if you'll recall, which I'm not sure if they are this year or not. So
There's an article
there is.
for the
And
30,000.
so conservation fund, $20,000. It's the same as last year, no increase. And what's in there now is the total in the account.
Sorry, 247,932.
Okay. Any questions from anyone on conservation fund? All right. Next item is bridge repairs. Bridge repairs. We are bringing in 25,000. We don't have actual bridge repairs. I don't think this year that we're going to be funding. This is for when we get those big unexpected bridge repairs or expected. And so this is to fatten up our wallet for that eventuality. $25,000 is the same as we put in last year. And how much is in that account now?
That is 479,613.
People pay for 1/10 of the bridge. I'm being sarcastic, I'm sorry.
Well,
Road paving. Road paving is 240, same as last year. We are funding this pretty much to the amount that we are expecting to spend between this input and what's in the highway department budget, I believe. And we are planning to do Plumpton Road, correct?
Yes.
From Brook Road all the way out as far as it's paved, just over the dam.
yes,
And the amount in that account is
5,994,716.
594,000.
Yep, sorry.
And the reason it is so high is because we put a big chunk in last year. And I think that is going to pay huge dividends when we don't have to raise as much the next few years like now. Any questions on road paving? Okay. Fire protection and standpipes. We're doing 12,500, same as last year. How much is in that account total?
That one is 96,265.
Okay, we can ask Jeff, but I don't know of any expenditures, really going out this year, but,
You never know.
you never know. Firefighter training and personnel equipment, 30,000 is also a flat budget line, same as last year. And we have how much in there?
One is, oh, that's 83,552.
Okay, and is that, do we have a firefighter one class or,
Mhm.
so that's probably coming out of there.
Yep. Exactly. And that's where their gear comes out of, which has gotten really expensive.
They're what?
Their gear.
Oh.
That they turn to fires. Yeah.
All right, any questions on firefighting equipment? Okay, on we go, library building improvement fund. The library building improvement fund is what was going to be for the library when it went to its final location, but we decided that it is in its final location. So that is both the library building improvement is the town hall, same thing. So it's often used for that. We're adding 5,000, which is the same as last year. Total in that fund is
75,644.
and at least partially that will help pay for the new door, which is going to be hopefully this summer.
Mhm.
New front
old
door,
The new old door.
new old front door,
The refurbished existing
refurbishing
door.
the front door. Town building renovations, $60,000, same as last year, no increase. You can see that not a whole lot was spent, but we have a bunch of old buildings. And what's in our account there?
160,535.
Okay. Questions on that count? All right, town improvements. Town improvements can be anything that we feel improve the town and we don't, something we want to do but don't know what line item to pull it from, can often be town improvements.
So it was, the reason why it's highlighted is because it was suggested to me that that's where the library doors and the steps go.
Okay. Could also be that our matching funds for sidewalk work could come from that.
Yep.
So all kinds of items. Is 125, have we all discussed that? I don't remember discussing that.
We didn't discuss
Okay.
it.
We didn't discuss the number, we discussed the projects
Yes.
that went into
Yes.
that number, I think.
We had it at 200.
We had it at 200?
Last round it was 200. You're proposing it at 125 now.
Any thoughts, Camilla, on what you would like to see it be?
No, I guess I just had a question about what changed from last week. I don't know why it was at 200, and why it went down to 125.
Because I didn't know the balance at that point, so.
And the balance is?
160,224.
What town improvements, did we talk at all about any of the bridge work coming out of that or anything? Is that not the bridge, but the, sidewalk
Main
there.
Street project?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just wondering, 125 seems like a lot.
It does seem like a lot. It's
We've had it at
that's the
50,
biggest part of our
25. What are we forgetting? That's all I'm getting at.
Well,
It's the doors, it's the steps.
Well, we
does
just said
that not come out of the library building improvement fund instead, though?
Some of it will. I think we
A third.
decided that.
It's like a third of it comes
Okay.
out of that.
Right.
Right.
I think we had talked about splitting the sidewalk project such that we do the repair portion by the bridge and that section of sidewalk next year.
Okay.
Didn't we?
This year, you mean.
And this year. And so we had an estimate for that, which was,
149-ish.
that was for just that piece. And then the sidewalks continuing on was like 200 or
200.
something.
Mhm.
So there's
But then we
60
walked-
in there. I guess
Yeah.
if we had 125, that would give us the ability to do that part of it this year.
Yes, and we had also talked about maybe seeking grant funds.
Right, but I guess
But
we
we
haven't
don't
discussed
know.
whether they're tied to how that would change the scope of the project, right?
Right, which it likely would.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't gotten an answer back from the state yet.
I think they're reeling in bigger fish.
Right.
Yeah.
We can
So-
amend that grant, to use it other places, but where we want to put it, I haven't gotten,
Yeah,
final approval for whether it can
Right.
be, if it can be, it can be sidewalks, but does it have to follow
Well-
Nancy code and all that?
so to Camilla's point, should we be funding this to pay for that portion of repair in entirety? Or should we be using some of the balance that's in the fund? Right, Camilla, is that sort of what you're getting at?
Yeah,
So this can also be a kind of a placeholder for money that you'll need in 3 years to do the matching piece for the Sugar Bush path.
Mm-hmm,
So it's not like it's gonna go to waste.
mm-hmm.
And so having a little war chest there might be handy. I don't know if I'd go higher than 125, but
I wouldn't.
125 seems like a useful piece, and if it gets used before then so be it.
That would give us a fund balance of 285, is
280.
that right?
Mhm.
Which could
Yes.
hopefully pay for the bridge
Mm.
repair plus the doors and steps and probably have some left over. So I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with 125.
All right. Next is town planning and development, $55,000 of input, same as last year. We've only used 4,000 of that this year,
Really?
or last year, rather, 24. That's odd. Total in that account,
Is 291,453.
We only use 4,000. Do we need it?
Andy,
So-
what is that about? What is this category? What is this
town-
category really?
Town planning and development, could be used to pay these guys on my right here, I think, if we wanted to. That's the kinds of things that can be used for, it's town planning. I don't know. How have we funded that so far?
Well, some of the funds came from ARPA.
Yeah,
Yep.
But we'll need more,
We'll need more.
so I would say
We're
that
gonna
this
take
is
it out
where
of
that
here.
comes from.
I guess my question is really, is there I see back in 2022, we actually spent 57,000.
Which was probably for either the looters or something like that.
Mhm.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm just kind of wondering if, I don't know. Just want to make sure line items, we know what we know what we're doing with them and why we're raising money for.
Absolutely. So having 291 in there, that is a pretty large amount. Along with that 55, it would more than finish paying off, I believe, the cost of of the Wyman Lanfear, bill.
Well, 190 of that, or 100 and something of that is
One-
ARPA.
Is our
One
payout.
23,
So we're down to,
For
is
what?
that what it was? The balance of ARPA that was going to the rush?
No, it was more like the 190 that Camilla was saying.
190.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and we're at what, 495, Steve, or something like that?
or 70 something,
All the way through construction, 435, I think.
435 through
that's right.
construction.
That's right.
or 35. So
So we're in pretty good shape there for covering that. If that's what you decided to put that capital to. I don't know that I would wanna, once you deplete that, you're gonna wish you had it, so I don't know that I would drop it very much.
no, I think if we know that we're going to pay for the Wyman Lanfear services out of that, then I would be okay with the 55 to keep it alive. Does that make sense?
I would concur, yes.
Yeah, yep.
All right, so anyone else have questions on town planning and development? Warren wastewater. Flat line there, $11,000. That is for, the capital part of Warren wastewater, which is, pumps and, things that happen at the Brooks Field and things like that, not the carrying costs that are the user fees. Take care of
Operating, yeah.
the operating costs. So, and how much does Warren wastewater have in there?
So,
15,819. Sorry, Devin.
that's okay.
Go.
Will you just say that again for me? I was finishing another thought when you started saying understanding that this isn't what is being paid from the operating costs, but how do we differentiate the two?
That's a good question. It's probably in the wastewater.
It is, yeah.
In the descriptions. So this is for things that are more, capital things. So a big pump station goes down. I believe we probably used this when the, over by Dave's there, the septic tank that had to have foundation work
Yep.
done.
Yep.
Those are the kinds of things that are too big for the users to deal with in one quarter or 1 year even. And those are the capital account items.
Okay.
Warren Cemetery. Warren Cemetery is an increase from 10,000 to 15, 33% increase in that line item. So Warren Cemetery, Charlie, you still on the cemetery?
Yeah.
What's the, why are we increasing your
We need,
capital account?
we need to replace all that fence. And we're trying to get estimates for doing the vinyl or the fiberglass, whatever it is. That fence is 2 or 3 years, the stuff's all run out again. I'm sick of repairing it, for one thing.
How much is in that account?
Cemetery is 9,710. But I thought Dana told Charlie that it was like 23,000 today. Did she tell you that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there are costs out of that. So I
Oh,
knew that,
okay.
we knew it was
Got
going to end up down at 9
Got it.
after we paid all our expenses. So that's why we're asking for 15. We like
There you go.
10 to 15 in there. So with the fence projected,
All right. Next item is Blueberry Dam and Covered Bridge. We're allocating 25, same as last year. What's in the kitty?
Give that back to
105,535.
205?
105.
No, 105.
535, yeah.
Why was the 23 actual so high, that one?
23 actual is so high because we did a big job on the covered bridge. We did
Large repairs of all of
all
the
the
joists,
floorboards and
floorboards, some siding, the
the beams.
approaches.
Yeah.
Some abutment repairs.
Yep. Last item is Warren Department of Public Safety, major equipment, $2,000. Saving our money for a big sign one of these years. How much is in there?
$2,664.
Okay. And that's it. That comes to a total. We haven't changed anything, I believe. And the total increase is 7.92%. And most of that, the portion of that is in the town improvements, which is going to be, yes, town improvements.
Planning and development.
No. Town improvements.
Town improvements, right, sorry.
Does anybody have any questions on capital budget tonight? Otherwise, this is what you're going to see in the booklet on town meeting day. No questions. I will see if we have a motion to approve the capital budget.
I just have a question. Sorry. Technicality, but being on the cemetery commission, I'm not sure how I should, but I probably shouldn't vote to approve the capital budget as a select person.
I think you should, because it's only one very small piece of the total. And I don't think it should disallow you from voting on this. I'm pretty sure we have the votes to pass it without you, if you prefer.
That's what I guess I'm getting at.
Okay,
I'm all for it, but I think I'm going to.
So let's do this then. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Okay, so I'll call for those in favor
Aye.
and those abstaining. One abstention. And those against. The motion passes and we have the capital budget.
Thank you.
Now we can get on to, I thought you guys were all here for that, but apparently you're not. You're here for the town garage, I guess.
We did such a good job in the town.
It's especially strange from Dave. You did have a comment.
I'm working on it.
Okay, I'm
Give him
waiting.
time, give him time.
You're just warming up. You haven't been here in a while. Pictures.
So I made you a co-host, Steve. So you should be able
We
to
have more
present on your
chairs.
screen.
Were we gonna
Behind
do
the
the,
door.
I think there
We're
are
gonna
some
do
more
Julie?
chairs behind the door, guys, if y'all want some.
Coming in thick now. All right.
Camilla wants to know if we want to quickly do Julie.
we can do it at the end. It doesn't matter.
Let's do it at the end. Don't forget. Because everyone's trying
That's my
now.
agenda.
Oh my God.
Don't want to make them wait.
That slide over to the right, they can squeeze her in.
Always said y'all. Just second. I like that.
More chair.
There are some open chairs.
Couple over here.
Andrew? Come on, we have a chair for you.
My favorite part about these is the potential swimming areas. I really love that part. I wouldn't have thought about that. Yeah, very impressive. Part of what you guys bring
Andy,
to the
is this
table. Yeah. All right, guys. Lead us.
Thank you for inviting us here tonight. Have my screen shared on Zoom. Some of the images that are there are not on the full boards, so I do have most of the drawings here, but not quite all of the information. So I might refer to both and try to just keep the drawings up to date.
There's, Rocky, can you hand out some of those handouts to some of the people that just came in?
I can do it.
Somebody? Thank you.
My pleasure.
Got it? No, I
Yeah.
don't. Okay. And can you all hear Steve okay?
No.
No? Do you want to switch seats with me so that
Well,
you
I
can
can-
face the room?
Yeah, why don't I,
I don't mind.
well, I can stand up and I can.
Also, I'm loud. You can hear me even if I'm not
Very
facing.
good, even if you don't want to.
Could we introduce the-
Yes.
Thanks, Sandy.
Placard and everything.
Have a seat. You're good.
It's okay, this will allow me to change also.
I think they want you to introduce yourself.
Yes, that is my next screen here.
Take the floor.
So part of the design process here has been meeting with several folks, some of which are at the table. We'll refer to them as the project team. Rebecca Campbell has been one of them. Andrew, Jim Sanford has been there, Devin, as well as Kamala. From the design team, there's several different companies that are working through this process. I'm Steve Roy. I'm the Vice President of Weedman Lanphier Architects. Not here tonight, but also a key part of the project has been John Lamoth. He would be the project manager throughout the project. Here tonight is Dan Hale.
Yeah, Dan Heil, project manager, civil engineer with VHB.
Also not in attendance, but important parts of the information that have come through tonight. Curtis Chase from CES Engineering, as well as Brad Park. They are the electrical and mechanical components of the design team, as well as Tim Hardy from Hardy Structural Engineering, handling the structure. And Tom Yandel from Project Consulting Incorporated has helped us with the cost estimates for the project. This next slide is the existing conditions plan created by Dan, and it is the board that is here. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with the site. Route 100 down here, Bond Ground Road. There's an existing driveway that comes up to a relatively level area, which is currently used for just gravel materials, gravel storage. A little bit higher up is a pond with something like 1,000 gallons of water for the fire hydrant system, with an existing pipeline that runs underneath the driveway currently. The plan that is now on the screen, and I'll flip here as well.
On that, next to my domestic water line, there's a spring box. Doesn't show up on your graphical map. Almost right on the border of the rocks property and Packlands, but my title to my property says that Springbox is on town land, and so I assume it is just on that point where.
Here, Dave?
I have to get up this. Yes, in this area. Of course, there's trees there you can't see, but I'll bet you it's right there. 'Cause my water line comes right from there and goes right up like this. Now, I thought it was all on Packland's land. Reviewing my thing, it says it was on town land. It was about 20 years ago. It was right away for that. And so it's important to me. I have no.
I think we're planning to infringe on that area, but let's keep it in mind as we
I
go
don't think
forward.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, you're way off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty steep, so.
So
Grandfathered in besides.
Shit runs downhill. Thank you.
Grandfathered in already.
this next plan on here is the process we went through was to locate the building in a place on the top that could help to shield some of the noise and activities of handling material. It also looked at a driveway that could be a 10% slope. So it required evaluating some of the wetland buffer zones that are in this area and sort of navigating our way up the hill to get to that yard. In this case, it is regreening the existing driveway. It would still be maintained as a utility corridor, but it wouldn't be used as a driveway in this scheme. We do have two schemes that we're gonna show. These piles up here are just meant for material stockpiles for the highway garage. There's also a salt shed as part of the project to cover the salt that is delivered. The garage itself, we'll get into that a little bit, but very simple utilitarian design, designed with Andrew and his team to provide adequate space for them to do their job and to store all the equipment. There is still a fair amount of equipment that gets stored outside as well, so we're not causing
You want us to
anything.
hold the questions till you're done with your
Yes, please.
presentation?
And then this existing pathway up to the fire pond, there's no work proposed anywhere up here. Part of this effort would require some stormwater management ponds. We have one at the top near the building and one about halfway down the driveway, and perhaps a third one that happens near the entrance as well. And this next plan, maybe two, is just the more technical drawing. It's identifying the same sort of area that was on the last plan. But what you start to see is the amount of grading and work that it takes to accomplish that driveway. So that's why I wanted to bring this here. We have, if you can see within your packet, some outdoor storage for equipment. So there's some devices that will be outside. There are concrete apron out front to allow trucks to be able to turn their wheels without destroying the roadway. And we have some parking for employees so that they can come and park their vehicles and then take the plow or whatever they're coming to get. We've also located a water well, generator, and proposed electrical transformer locations, as well as some ground mounted equipment to support the building. We've also looked at this second option, which we're just referring to as option B. And this plan is seeking to reuse the driveway in its current position. Slight realignment towards the top, and the need to widen it to 24 feet and to pave it so that the vehicles can pass each other if needed and traverse it in a safe way. This driveway is slightly steeper than the other alternative, but is felt to be well less steep than other roads within the town, so able to be handled by the equipment. Garage location is relatively the same, still with the goal of trying to keep operations sound, blocked by the building from adjacent locations, and really focusing on keeping equipment within this zone here. Next page is again the technical side of this, and what you can see is the widened driveway, some grade adjustments to make that driveway work at a consistent slope. But otherwise, a lot of this design on the top side between the salt shed and the garage is really unchanged in that aspect. Comes to the garage itself. These gray boxes are really just pieces of equipment that are placeholders. So each of these represents a plow with the wing on it. Some smaller ones are pickup trucks or pieces of equipment that would have a place within the inside. It's really a very simple building. Most of it is wide open space. We do have a separate area for washing vehicles to help them last longer. That just keeps the moisture and wetness contained within that one space, and they can park them elsewhere. The smaller bay to the right of this drawing, if you enter from the parking area, there's just a small corridor with a toilet, a single office, and a break room space, as well as a few lockers and another toilet directly off of the locker space. So really just minimal amount of space to serve the needs of the building. These other rooms down here, this is the electrical room and the water entrance, and says heat pump. It's actually meant to be the fire pump. So these are very building service oriented spaces within the building. There's a small storage area for small parts, things that want to be within bins or storage racks and out of the general bay. This portion of the building would have a mezzanine on top to basically keep the volume, this roughly 20 feet of height within the truck volume area so that they can lift their dump trucks and have clear space for that. We're able to fit 2 floors within its sides. It's not actually a second floor, it's a mezzanine open to the storage area. So this could be used for additional part storage, storing signs, all the things that he needs to store in a nice covered place is what's up there. We've also located a small mechanical room, which just has some additional mechanical space to support the building. This next view, these are just representative, bird's eye view. Trying to keep the building as simple as possible. So all these overhead doors here, they each have a vehicle inside of them. Roughly 20 feet of clear height for that area of the building. And on this side, which is where the office and mezzanine space is, that'd be double height. But otherwise, it's minimal envelope to enclose the amount of space. Rectangular in shape, trying to be as efficient as possible. We are representing the possibility that there could be solar panels on the roof. It is essentially a flat roof. It's minimal slope to get water to shed, considered flat. And this is just another rendering from the corner, as if a visitor were going to enter the door, what they would have. And another piece of the component of this project is what to do with the existing highway garage buildings. And the portion that we've included is to demolish those buildings and allow that to become a green site that could be reused in the future for another purpose, sold or whatever purpose is determined in the future. So there are some line items in the budget for that as well. That's the last of those images that I have. The next pieces relate to PCI developing a cost estimate for the project. And, the cost estimate is meant to be used as a tool where we can refine the design and look for savings as we go. I'm still at a position where we've got 2 options. One is significantly more expensive, and part of having that estimate has helped us, consider other options that may be able to save money. And that's kind of where we are currently. So site option A, I've only provided the summary page. There is, a detailed breakdown, which may be in the handouts. I'm not sure.
It's not.
Yeah, it should be.
Oh.
Yeah.
The detail or the summary?
Oh, no, just the
Yeah,
summary,
The
sorry.
summary
we
page.
we
Sorry.
can dig into
Yeah.
the detail if we need to.
Yeah, the summary page is what's here on the screen. And both site option A and site option B are utilizing the same physical structure for the building. The differences are really in how much tree cutting there might be, how much blasting there might be, and how much earthwork and material movement there is. So site option A comes to a bottom line cost of just over 15 million, which, that's the moment where you fall off your seat, and I understand that. So we went back to the drawing board and said, well, how do we lessen this cost? Because we know that's just a lot. So the site option B, which allows us to reuse the existing driveway, even though we have to widen it, and there's still work associated with it, but it is much less work than the option A version. So we think that project cost is just over 12 million. So right there, we've identified 3 million in potential savings by taking that alternate step. We do a lot of buildings like this, and there are elements of this particular project which add cost. The need for a fire pump is a cost that might not be absorbed in a different town. There's going to be a septic system, so it's not as easy as connecting to a municipal system. So there are costs that add up that you might not see in other towns in the area. That's really the gist of where we're at right now. On a, I guess to summarize, we've really tried to make the building as simple as possible. I think there's still some effort that will be done to try to bring that number even further down. I think the numbers that we have also include quite a lot of contingency for the unknowns. And if I get specific with those, there is an estimating contingency of 8%, which is $726,000. There's an owner carried contingency of 5% for $454,000. And then a contractor contingency of 272. So we get to around 19% of contingency pretty quickly. And that's all money that, if not spent, is returned. So the goal would be to bring the project in at the cost that we've established and not have to use those contingencies, of course. So just wanted to point that out. I'm happy to take questions. I'm sure there are some.
I have a question. If you were to distill from the conversations that you all have had around these options, what benefits you're losing by going with option B as opposed to option A, what would they be?
Option B really comes down to really the steepness of the driveway that's acceptable. Mm-hmm. And our goal initially was to try to keep 10%. The existing driveway is a little over 12%. So there is that difference really. The path that we had taken for Route A was trying to avoid as much of the wetland areas as possible. Obviously, the existing road is within some of the buffers for the wetlands, but it's an existing road at the same time.
It was also to help with line of sight for Von Brown Road, because that's a big concern about traffic coming down out of there.
Yeah.
Option A.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
When we originally talked about that, was coming down so you can see Von Brown Road a little clearer.
Mm-hmm. Although I don't know that we actually achieved that, did we? The option A? Not this one, but the other one.
Yeah, option A, I don't know that it really made that big of a difference. I think there is the opportunity to perform some tree clearing outside of the wetlands and wetland buffer areas to improve that sight distance at the drive with Von Brown. But the main thought around option A was to get to that 10% grade. And in order to do that, we needed to elongate the drive. So we came up with this new alignment. and as Steve mentioned, to minimize wetland impacts. We bisected the wetland on site, and that 10% grade resulted in 20+ feet of cut in some places. So that's where a lot of that cost was coming from, that earthwork associated with the cut and potential blasting there too.
Excuse me. Has VTran been consulted about all the project itself?
Yes, we have reached out to VTrans and they're aware of the project. As when we get into design and permitting, we'll need to apply for an 1111 permit, a highway access permit, because there will be some work within the right of way, mainly running 3-phase electric through the VTrans right of way there. But VTrans is aware, they don't have any initial concerns with the proposal.
None? It's been a very dangerous intersection there, and that was our biggest concern. We're the next driveway over from Von Braun, and just curious as to how the entry and all the roads coming together right there in the town and so on. We've seen some very dangerous situations there at that intersection. Just curious as to whether VTran actually signed off on this and what signage and slowing down of traffic and so on. Have they had a proposal on that?
Well, they haven't officially signed off yet, as we haven't applied for the 1111 permit, but we have presented the proposal to them and they didn't have any initial concerns utilizing that existing curb cut there.
Peter, we have had conversations, and I think Dan's aware that we would like VTrans to take a look at this intersection and please pay attention to our request for a reduction in speed. That is absolutely part of what we have asked to be made clear. And we haven't heard back from VTrans basically, but I think we're all still really hopeful that they'll, pay attention to us as we move through this process.
Well, originally, the deed was for recreation use, and we're just wondering why it's not being honored and where the recreation part of it is.
Are you talking about the,
I'm talking about putting a
the whole
town
parcel?
garage, putting the garage there where the original deed was for recreation use.
So back in the 80s, you're saying the original deed when it was handed to the town?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually think it would make for great recreation use above the fire pond. But that's kind of a discussion for a different day. But there's a lot of folks hunt up there. And I think it could have great trail system at some point. But again, not part of your scope at all. But good point.
Yeah.
And the reason.
I'll echo it.
You'll echo it?
I'll echo.
All right, will you be on the committee with me?
As far as what?
To put trails in there in
No,
5 years?
I'm talking about the garage is not one of the uses listed in that original
Oh, okay.
agreement.
Oh, you're echoing that. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Then you are not on my committee.
I'm
So,
sorry.
um,
I'm so disappointed. Before I go any
Go
further,
ahead.
I'm not questioning anyone's motivations here. Everyone putting in their time and their goodwill, and I appreciate that. But I am concerned that the town had an agreement and the town got access to that parcel based on that agreement. And now the town wants to renege on that agreement, subject to interpretation.
I
Okay,
think renege is too strong a term.
All
That's my
right.
personal feeling.
fair enough. I think you should substitute whatever term you want,
I think that
changing things, all right?
times have changed
And times have
and
changed,
the
but
select board changes. And I can tell you that this has been for me, a 17-year odyssey from one perspective to another. Because we looked at this project first in the 2008. And it's been that long of kicking the can down the road and watching our failing infrastructure and getting to the point where we have to move, we have to do something. And that changes your perspective. And there's always somebody that's not going to be pleased with the change. I'm sorry it's you, but, and these guys and Mary, but that's the change of perspective is what has led us to today. And these fine gentlemen giving a presentation about what we think should be there.
Is the town prepared to incur the legal costs if that viewpoint is challenged?
Oh, we are very prepared for that.
Do we know it?
I got a question.
Charlie?
You said you're gonna demolish the garage and you're gonna clean the area up. That means you're gonna take all the oil, dirt and everything out of there. It's gonna be all clean. Now, what's this thing of, this is, they proposed 28 units there for low income houses.
That's nothing that this select board has had anything to say about or do about. So I'm not sure what you're talking about for
Well,
that.
before you guys
Hang on.
said you thought you could put 28 single units in there.
We did not say that. The planning commission may have had a discussion about that, but that is not
Okay.
something happened
But
at
it's
this
gonna be
board.
cleaned up so that it could be, is that correct?
So I believe that we did a brownfield study on that site, again, about 15 years ago. And that it was in fairly good condition in terms of, contamination. So I don't know that there will be, cost, but maybe you guys have looked into this,
It has, there is, I forget the exact number, something like 578,000 for the removal of the building and removal of an assumed amount of petroleum, contaminated soil. Yeah.
Okay. So that's in the numbers, Charlie. Well, we haven't gotten there yet. We'll have more
No,
of
I just wanna make sure that's gonna be cleaned up.
Yeah, it's absolutely part of the scope.
that is part of what we're trying to do here. It's not just leave a mess for the next guys. Anyway, Dave?
Yeah, on the site plan for both A and B, there is an existing berm on that site on the bank. I was wondering where it shows up on your house. Is it shown? There's a berm, state mandated berm to stop,
Runoff?
Are you talking
yeah,
on,
runoff down the hill, yeah.
are you talking on
There's an
the
existing berm
West
on
Hill
the east side,
side or
east side.
on the east side,
Yeah,
towards Route
over
100?
next to Ted's land, Packman's land, and my well, and
Call that the north side. No,
wow. North is this way,
South
east is that way. I'm talking about the east side of
It's
that. lot.
east, it's northeast, northeast.
sure.
West Hill is
I don't
on
see
north,
anything specific about it.
northwest.
It's the
I think it
first
might
page.
be,
First page. And there was a gravel pit there, and that permit
Might
has
be
been
right here.
removed.
yeah, I think it's right here, this. Looks like maybe it's,
I don't think it really gets disturbed that much. It cuts through the
Look, look,
inflation.
that's all I'm saying,
it
Andrew.
cuts
Are
up
they-
through it. I
is-
believe
is
that.
the
if
road
you look
inside
at
of
where the-
that, or is this?
I think it's inside that.
Yeah, that's all I'm wondering, is it? I mean, if you've studied the site, you know the conditions, like where my spring box is, and where that berm is, and where the Bradley Brook is, which doesn't really show up on this aerial view. I mean, I know it's like.
Yeah, it's kind of,
house.
It's
kind of
just
off the-
beyond, I
off
think.
the- Off the picture there.
Yeah.
All right, so what did you want to know about the berm? Was it gonna stay? Was it gonna be disturbed? Do we know? Do
You
we
just
have
wanna know where the
you
road
guys-
was and
The location of the berm relative to the plan that's presented in there.
Is it something that's removed in your plan or?
it's
or
being modified in the
Modified.
plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Enhanced?
Oh, yeah, wordsmithing.
So that's why I'm here.
We'd have to look at that too.
The state's gonna look at
gonna look
everything.
at all of it.
Don't,
I'm
Yeah,
just saying, I don't.
the
I don't
proposal
see
will-
ordinance or any-
Yeah,
No,
this will,
talking about that, the new road, especially, option A.
yeah, we'll be going in for Act 250 permit for this project.
I think we'll all be surprised if option A is chosen. Just saying.
Well,
And the state's gonna make sure that it is clear that there'll be a stormwater permit for this. You
Yeah.
know, there
I
won't
mean,
there won't be any leach, there won't be any runoff that affects other properties. I mean, the state will make sure of that.
Yeah, we'll need to go in with a stormwater permit, erosion control permit, water, wastewater permit, Act 250 permit, local approval. So there'll be quite a few local and state permits that we'll be seeking as part of this project.
as representative of the town highway, which option do you like? Andrew, I mean, you're living with.
Well, we
A,
spent
isn't
a
it?
lot of time on, and looking at all of this the whole scenario, and as far as steep grade, longevity and all that, option A was the best, but when they first came to us with a meeting, what was it, last week or whatever, and I saw the price, I said, we've got to figure something out for an option B to lower the cost. And option B was initially to just change and use the existing road that we have,
So you're not
improve
against-
on the exist. I'm not against either one of them. I think
But
either one of
improving on
them.
it could be done with this project, is what you're saying,
Yes.
to improve that access.
I think the garage is a great garage, would suit our needs very well for years to come. It's the driveway is the big concern. And obviously, there's gonna be permitting involved with it, so some of the driveway scope may have to change if they tell you that you're impeding on the wetland buffer and all that, so some of the concepts may have to change a little anyway.
So this plan includes a wastewater system not tied into the town of Warren septic system or its wastewater system.
Mhm,
And was there any consideration tying it in?
mhm. Yes, there was. And we
Mhm.
decided not to because it was too expensive.
You're talking about the
Correct.
septic.
Yeah, it was over, we would need to extend it over to Main Street, so it would involve running that service line down the road underneath Route 100, which would most likely be a directional drill or directional bore underneath Route 100 and tying in on Main Street, which would involve ripping up Main Street too, so.
Couldn't we connect it to the West Hill Spur?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, it's the closest.
You're talking about the septic, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
Wastewater.
that was a question I had too. Are you talking in putting in the town stuff? Is it gonna have its own field up there?
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yep, the thought is to do the on-site
Because
septic.
you already got the water line coming down there. Where are you gonna put the septic line? It's gonna tap into town sewer.
Well, the water line is an existing water line. We're not proposing to run the water line down the
Oh, for
driveway.
the fire hydrant from the pond. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that water line coming from the pond down the drive is an existing water line to serve the
Right, but if you
hydrants.
put a sewer in, tap it into town, where are you gonna run that line? Right
Well,
beside
That's
that?
what he was just saying, we would have to run it all the way down under Route 100 and connect on Main Street, which would be very, very expensive, so
They're
it's,
foolish.
yeah.
You're in a gravel pit.
That's why they proposed to doing a small leach
The
field in
proposal
its
is to
own
do it on
system
site.
in on site.
Mhm.
Makes sense to me.
Hang on, so we have a couple questions. I think Maria had a question first.
I may be way late in the game to be asking this, but why has the original site been abandoned and why can't that be used with a new building on it and you're closer to the septic and you're.
By original site, you mean in the village? on
Yeah, the
School
one
Street.
that's there right now being operated.
So we did a lot of looking and had some engineering drawings done, and as Jim just said, the site is not big enough for what we need. We're already constrained there, and so you put a building like the building you see here, if you put that building on that site and then try and have sand and salt and stuff like that, so that it just wasn't big enough. They couldn't, we even looked at moving the road further out to kind of enlarge that area, and even that wouldn't do it, and that was ridiculously expensive as well, so.
I got another question. What are you gonna do with the back garages that you built down behind that? You're gonna take them up in the pit or they're gonna be demolished too?
You mean at the current site?
Yeah,
Well, let's get to that when they're ready to talk about that, but I think Ted had a question.
With the septic being up there, cause my neighbor Dave and my 91 West Hill does have springs up there, and I don't know if my spring is on our land or our land.
Ted, but
Do you have a
where is,
well at that, at 91?
what?
Do you have a water well there?
I know well too, but I got a spring.
Yeah, I know you have a spring. And I've
Where
walked
is the
it.
septic?
Yeah, I don't see,
Septic gonna be located.
there's a leach field on this.
Yeah, we haven't cited the septic system yet. That's something we
Okay,
still
there's
need to,
something-
yeah,
But-
but
but-
we'll be honoring all
We
well
do know,
isolations.
we all know the rules
Yeah.
of the well shield
Yeah, yeah,
or spring shield,
Mhm.
so they'll be fitting it in where they can, where it belongs.
It's not gravel pit no more.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
thank you.
the current use of that area is for storage of road material.
Yes.
Where will that go? Those big piles.
It's still gonna be there.
Places for.
The only one downfall is ditch fill, but we have to
So
find more
that's-
places to get rid of ditch fill.
Okay, so the concrete blocks, the asphalt, piles.
The existing storage piles that we
are gonna
have
stay.
are gonna stay. Then we may have to move them around according to how the building's gonna lay out and whatever the Act 250 permit says or whatever, but that use is gonna stay the same.
Excavation fill or more taken out? I mean, there's, you know what I'm saying? I don't know the elevations there. I know it is in my house. We've got that
Mhm.
pretty close.
Yeah,
But up in the pit, is this regraded or is it filled in or raised? I don't know.
The pit's gonna be filled in. The option A has a net of around 11,000 cubic yards of excess material.
So I guess 965 elevation, which is like the existing road, is gonna be like common elevation throughout the area. I think that's the way I interpret it.
Well, this is conceptual. I think it is open to change, but right now, option B, we have the finished floor elevation of the garage at a 967
Yeah.
and the finished floor elevation of the salt shed at a 966.
And I'm looking at the road,
Yep.
this new road, it says 965 as it enters that area. So it looks like it's gonna be all about that level. And currently, I guess some areas go below that.
Yeah.
But, and we've discussed. the
We
fact that-
talked about that too, what the option is,
Mhm.
instead of, leveling the whole pit at once, is there a way to do it that we continue to take ditch fill that we can't get rid of? And we finish leveling it, put in the stormwater permit that you gotta do and all that, and then we continue to use that to level the site as ditch fill comes that we can't get rid of.
It seems to me it would be easier just to level that big pile you got right out. and Put the garage there, right below the pond, just level that out, fill it in, you ain't gonna drop, then you ain't gonna haul it all in.
There isn't, and won't be any hauled in, but they will be
Well,
leveled.
that's the mound you're gonna level out.
No, that's going on roads. The pile that's by the fire department container you're talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah,
that's gravel for the roads.
oh, okay,
That'll get put on roads.
okay.
I don't think we're planning to bring any fill in either option, are we?
Right now, option B does have a little bit of fill, but I think we can tweak those elevations to eliminate that.
Like
Yeah.
using what we cut from road improvements to fill on site,
Mhm.
for the most part.
Is this proposed to be some kind of pre-engineered metal building, or is it like a custom design, custom everything?
it is a custom design to suit.
Why is that?
Why, yeah.
Well, we've done this exercise a few times. There often isn't savings with the pre-engineered option. It's not to say it's impossible, but you can get a pretty efficient structural steel design as well. And it provides more flexibility in how it's designed, and you're not as pigeonholed into the pre-engineered design.
Is it, what kind of energy codes apply, and what kind of performance requirements are there by switching buildings?
Yeah, the new energy code is the 2024 energy code in Vermont. It is pretty stringent
For this kind of building even?
for, every kind of building. Yeah,
We're not air conditioning, we're just heating.
correct.
That gonna be in the slab?
Yes, there is radiant heat in the slab.
And a heat pump in the breaker?
The break room area, the office portion has
Domestic.
a little bit of cooling there.
Can you build a building with like wood trusses, more like a pole barn instead of like a steel building?
I mean, it's an option, and we've done that in other communities. We felt the best fit for the size of this building was the steel building.
Do you have any idea how much money it would save, like per square foot?
Not on a per square foot. There is some savings associated with it. I do have some comparisons I can pull up.
What's the roof gonna be, rubber?
Yeah, a lot of times we use TPO, which is thermal poly,
It's okay.
whatever. Composite material. It is, similar to an EPDM type of roof in its use.
Salt shed, is it gonna be a real shed with a concrete floor?
Yeah, it's, they pulled it right from a state design.
Concrete walls with 14 feet.
I don't know what the exact spec is. You
Is
guys
that right?
pulled up the state spec.
Have you ever seen the ones that are like top of a football?
Yeah, I've seen those. This is gonna be more conventional.
Rectangular.
This is conventional. It's a long rectangle. So I think it's 40 by 84.
Yeah.
And it has, just a straight cable roof on it.
And so the sand storage is separate. And that won't have the foundation.
No, I will just use the pile.
Just outside like it is now.
So, but on the plan, is there an area that would be?
There is, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it has. Yeah, you can see the sort
It's
of
right beside the
circles,
salt shed.
Dave.
I don't see a mark, but I'm just saying.
Go to this page, Dave.
Okay,
Here we go.
okay. Yes, I see that.
Salt, sand, gravel.
And that's on- okay.
What makes that salt shed so expensive? Why is it $800,000?
That is correct. I think that equated to $238 a square foot. It's just the things cost these days.
Should we pour solid concrete
just wondering
walls
what-
and everything?
So this, I only have this printout of it. It is, if folks can see, it is just a simple gable design. Concrete comes up to, I don't even have the dimension, but 8 feet, maybe, something like that. And then it is wood frame above, with just a typical residential wood truss construction.
So it's basically tall enough so that a truck can back in and raise up and dump. No
We
quite.
have to push a lot of it in. You can get most of the way in there and dump it.
My name is Chris, and you guys are all laughing about this and thinking it's funny. We're all fiscally out of control here. If you're taking, you wanna charge $3.5 million to try and make a steep hill, not so steep. Dangerous egress on the Route 100, logging trucks come from the south at 50 to 60 miles an hour. You're pulling out with a full load of sand, you might have a bad day. When you have a flat site right now, perfectly good, you could, if you wanna do custom buildings, you could put a custom building on the existing site and fit all those trucks in. I could do it for you. So I think this is totally out of control. Is my personal opinion. As a taxpaying citizen of this town.
I don't think any
You
of
guys
us are
laughing
laughing.
about
I don't think we're laughing
Yeah,
about
you
the
are.
cost. I haven't been.
Is there a grant for this at all?
I don't believe we've found a grant that would suit us for this now.
The land where the existing place is, would that generate taxes in some way?
So when you say, so you're talking about the current
Yeah,
town garage
what's
site.
what's the potential to generate taxes out of that?
Have not considered that. Has anybody discussed that?
No.
No.
That's
No, I
kind
mean,
of,
I think we've discussed there are lots of different scenarios. I mean, we could also sell the land. Or yeah, I mean, it could be developed and then taxes. We haven't really talked much about that part of it.
So we're gonna, that's for a future discussion. We're focused on providing for the town's needs for the next, I don't know, 60 years. It's been the last 60 years.
Yeah, it should.
Right, I just want to take this thing out, say, 60 years of taxes at $50,000 a year or something coming in. It'd be like 3 million anyway.
Good.
Okay. I gotta be out by 3:30 this morning, tomorrow morning, so the reason I came here. This article in the paper. Now, I went to Harvard, and I don't do well in front of people. Devin,
Yeah.
may I ask you to read this section right here? It starts right there.
To that end, the town had contemplated changing the existing access to the site from Von Brown Road off Route 100 to a separate access aligned more northerly than the existing road and access to a town fire pond. A separate new road will cost an estimated 3.5 million, Klein Corrigan said. There were concerns that the existing road is too steep for the town trucks and that there may be noise issues. We've asked the designers and engineers to revisit that and take a look at what kind of noise mitigation could potentially be added, she noted.
Okay, so moving it northerly, if I'm correct, puts it down towards my house.
It does.
But this is a misrepresentation of what I said. If you are implying that I'm talking about moving the curb cut, that's never been on the table.
Okay, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I
Was the
misquoted
curb.
twice in that article.
Okay,
So Ted, that's this big snaky thing of
Yeah.
bringing it around.
Mhm.
It's probably not what's happening because the cost is exorbitant.
right, so we saw plan A, now we see B. This project is gonna impact 2 of our houses.
Mhm.
I'm for B. Okay. Other than that, I think the town needs to do something. You need to upgrade. And we own the land. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a house there,
Yeah, but we never intended to have a new curb cut. I'm
right,
sorry.
but that's what I read
Yeah,
here.
I
The
apologize.
curb cut has always, when it first got looked at, the curb cut has never
Never
been going
changed.
to move.
Okay, but that's what I was reading here, so.
If something like
I'm
this
out of
was
here.
bonded for 30 years, do you have any idea how much it would cost?
I do not.
That would be really helpful.
Yeah,
And then when we present the bond part, then that'll be our main focus of our discussion.
And to
So
Chris,
we
to
still gonna
your,
vote this at town meeting or no?
well,
Yeah.
that's the hope. But this is a really important piece of this process.
Yeah.
You know, we're committed to doing this with everyone.
Yeah.
And hearing from you, and if you have critical feedback that we should be taking into consideration before it's presented, we wanna do that.
And then with the septic up there, Dave does have a spring.
Mhm.
I have a spring. And shit runs downhill.
So to clarify, the area it's that SWM in blue is the potential sewer system,
No,
No,
No.
that's stormwater management.
stormwater management.
Yeah, those are
So
potential
the leach field
stormwater.
isn't placed on there at all.
It is not, no.
It hasn't been located yet.
Well,
I'd also like to note that on Trout Hollow, there are 3 households that have springs. So that's downhill from the site. And Sue Carter would probably have something to say as her spring box is in that vicinity on the western side of Route 100. Now, I do have a question as far as much more desirable as far as finances, option B. The objective is to reduce the grade, and option B is a steeper grade, but why can't we top the top of it off a little bit? We're gonna have excavators up there, but why couldn't we just lower the top?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Right, instead of being at elevation of 960 or whatever, see what it would do to put it at
Bring it down
950.
20 feet, yeah. Yeah. Is that a consideration or is that ridiculous?
To bring down the top of the road.
Some
To
of it
bring
has to do, you
the
can't bring it down too
elevation
much
of the
because
entire
the
place
water.
down.
I think that's an option. I think we'd like to balance the site or
Sure.
get as close to balancing the
Yep.
site as possible. So right now, we do have right around 1,000 cubic yards of excess fill. So I imagine we would lower that a little bit in an effort to balance the site. So these finished floor elevation grades you see right here,
These
probably,
aren't guaranteed to be the actual.
they probably will change
Yeah.
when we proceed with
Because any,
design and
so
permit.
what Rocky's saying is if we bring it down, our grade kind of changes over the somewhat.
Yeah, somewhat. I think we'd like to honor the natural drive grades as close as possible because they are within wetland buffers
Okay.
areas, and we don't we want to minimize impacts to those wetlands and buffer areas.
There's also the existing water line that travels under the road.
Correct.
And we wouldn't want to
Reduce the
change
cover over
the
that
cover
line.
that too much.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the fire hydrant water.
Yes.
correct.
Andrew, I have a stupid question. With a steeper grade, does that mean the trucks will be louder?
You don't hear our trucks really anymore. You don't hear the Jake brakes on the newer trucks.
Yeah.
I mean, you will hear when you get, I can't guarantee that there's somebody that's gonna deliver gravel or sand or something like that, doesn't have an older truck that you can hear, but the town's trucks, you can't.
The steeper grade is existing, and it's been there ever since I've lived there, which is 14 years now. So,
And they manage it now. And
yeah,
they
that's
access
my
it.
point. It's
I don't have a problem with the steeper grade.
Mhm.
I think the concern was more
The
for
concern
the
was more
salt
of like
truck.
when you call and you say to the salt supplier that I need 4 loads of salt, that they come there in the middle of a storm and can't make the hill because we didn't have it.
and
sanded or
diesel
whatever.
will be another delivery.
Right, deliveries would be the concern.
Okay, that's new.
So, but Andrew was saying that they could make a commitment to making sure that there's enough.
Right, try to do that where you actually schedule something.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got propane trucks going up and
Well-
down West Hill Road, and they have no problem, you know? I mean, I worry when
That's
they
why I
come
said
down that
that
hill and if they.
Option B road to me isn't a problem.
Thank you. That's what I want.
So let me ask this question again. Are we going, this gonna be ready for us to vote on at town meeting?
I hope so.
That's, you're just hoping so.
Well, that's
And
our
if
plan.
not- if
Yeah.
not, it's
No,
gonna
I
be a
mean, that's
special-
where all of our meeting schedules, all of our timelines are driven by having it ready for a bond vote at town meeting.
But if not, we'll have another special meeting.
I guess so, but we very much hope to avoid that.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say that if everything falls right, it'll be on town meeting. And if there's any reason where we don't have enough information or the bond bank is not getting our information to us, then it could be pushed. And then I would guess that we would have a big discussion, just like tonight, at town meeting, just to, because we'll have a captive audience of more like 80 people usually. And we'll get our story out there, people will get their feedback to us. So you're gonna hear about it at town meeting, one way or the other.
And what's the timeline of building this if it goes through? A year?
I believe there's 9 months to construct, is what's assumed. And it would take a few months to go through permitting and finalizing design after the bond vote.
Once you start, I mean.
And we have two potential timelines.
Yeah.
So we're looking at two potential timelines, Charlie, either, say the bond vote passes at town meeting, immediately getting into permitting and start construction in the fall and working through the winter, or waiting and starting construction in the spring.
I'd go for spring, so.
If we can put it on early,
A big part will depend on who we can get to bid on it, and how we feel about the bids that we get.
Be a big company.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty good sized company. If somebody, it'll be, I don't know, Morrissey or Nail and Breen, or be a good sized company.
You're working with all steel, you're not working with wood. That's the problem. We don't work with steel, so it's gonna be a company that does.
And before we get there, the whole town gets to say whether they want to do this or not, and we'll have a discussion about what it's gonna cost and for how long.
For Ted and myself, my biggest concern is the hydrological study to make sure my spring box is still drinkable. And it's been drinkable for 200 years. With several upgrades in design, from wood pipe, lead pipe, copper pipe, to now PEX.
Okay.
And currently, I haven't had the state do a sample, but it's high in bacteria, and doesn't meet the state standard for drinking. Even though it's been that way for 200 years. Sometimes it's low, sometimes the bacteria is a little higher. All I'm saying is, I don't want to put $10,000 out to put a well in.
Put a filter
You know what bacteria is, Charlie?
in. I sure do. Put a filter.
We're talking
have
about
UV.
disinfectant, not a filter. It's not a filter. You
They do
gotta
have
use
ultraviolet
microwave,
or
and then I'm gonna microwave all the water that goes down into my septic tank. I've looked into this.
I'm sure you have.
Okay,
I'm sure
so
you
I
have.
boil my water that I use for coffee. Other than that, I drink beer. That's my solution. Any
Sustainable life
tenant
matters.
that shows up knows that water doesn't meet the state standards. And that's what they sign off.
But it's yours. Your water.
And it's darn good water. It's a lot cleaner than it was when I did. That's my concern, Andy, that
Okay.
it doesn't affect that.
Yeah.
And I know you've got a great site for gravel.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know where water's coming from. It's pretty shallow.
I would recommend
It comes off the boat.
that you do some, and I would suggest that, not tonight, but you talk to the town about doing some testing of both yours and Ted's before we do anything, and then after, and then we'll know if there's a change.
I can do the testing. It's just $14 for postage. The
Okay.
state does it. And what I'm saying is, I've done that a few times and I've never gotten down to the state standard. It's not that it's deadly. Okay? People lived there for 200 years. Some lived a long time. So I'm not worried. It's just that they want to get going, get worse.
All right, so give me a second here, Stephen. Are you done with your presentation, or you have still something to do?
That is all we have.
That's all we have. Does anybody else have questions for either these guys, who are only gonna be here tonight, or the rest of the board, who unfortunately you're gonna see again and again? Any
Yes,
questions?
so, yeah, well, Mike, so in conclusion, what we're hearing is that our town government is pretty much blowing off the deeds use for recreation because you've been thinking about it for 17 years. And if you're going to put in recreation, that the trails would go above the garage site and the access is through the town garage?
So that was just me talking about trails and where they might be and access. I have not looked into that. I know the piece of land, and I've always thought it's a good idea, and I have read the original documents, so that's why I know that was discussed back in the 80s. But as far as, so the town believes, town being this body and legal people we've sought information from, that the things that are holding back the use of this site are obsolete. They ended long ago. The Act 250 permit ended with the gravel extraction, and that's been over for many, many years. And so we might have a disagreement with you on what the meaning of that was and whether it's binding or not. We don't agree. We think that we are using this to its highest and best use for the town at this time.
How
And
many
was,
acres is this site?
What?
How many acres is this site?
I think it's 60.
78.
78?
Yeah, 78.
78.
78.
was there ever discussion of having a hub for recreation bikes up there?
No, there's not been a discussion about a hub for recreation bikes. I think that's mostly, as far as I know.
Well,
I think there was.
we played with the idea of starting the proposed Vermont Route
that's
100
not
active
recreation bike.
transportation
That's a different thing
corridor
altogether.
there.
Well, excuse me for not labeling it correctly, but as far as
So yeah, we
is that
did
enough?
look at that as sort of the southern terminus for that transportation corridor, and have discovered, mostly due to wetlands and grade, that it is impractical to develop a parking area that would be sufficient for that. So we have had to walk away from it.
And trucks, large trucks. So.
You're gonna do all that, you gotta consider that pond that's up there. Is it gonna be vandalism? Is that pond gonna stay?
Okay, so Charlie and everybody, we're not talking about this
Okay,
piece
but
of it
that's one
tonight
thing you
or even
gotta
this
protect.
year or even next year.
That's one thing you
If
gotta
it
protect.
becomes a recreation site of any kind, it will be in the future after this is all decided and nailed down, okay? Questions?
This project is just part of a section of town that is concerning to a lot of people as far as traffic. It's not just that one intersection. It's the bottom of West Hill Road. It's Ellen Lane. It's Main Street, which is a treacherous area for pedestrians, let alone vehicular traffic. And I think to take one thing and not all the others at the same time is foolish, because you're gonna have to revisit it, or we are gonna have to revisit it. All right, and
Rocky, we agree. We all know how bad the traffic patterns are there, and we are trying to get V-Trans to pay attention to us. We have only so much control over the area because we don't control Route 100. We are committed, as we've said before, to continue the traffic calming program that we've been working with in the Main Street area, all the way out through the bottom of West Hill. So we hear you, and we want to make it better as well.
Last time we did a walk, someone specifically said, we're stopping at 100.
Yeah.
Don't consider West Hill.
Well, our
You were
scope,
there,
our
and
scope
you-
stopped at
we had a
the,
discussion about
yeah,
that.
our
They
scope
said, well,
for,
he's not gonna be here much longer. Okay.
our scope for
Guess
that particular project actually ended at the park and ride.
Right.
And so we've had this conversation, and we'll come back to this with traffic calming, because we do want to make sure that we include the rest of that space.
Can I ask a question? At one point, I saw two signs up at the employee parking for Sugar Bush. One says 100 north, go down the access road. 100 south, go down by Campanelli's house.
That's
Now, who put that sign?
Campanelli's house?
Well, it says 100 south.
Go to
Go
Campanelli's.
down West Hill, Inferno Road to West Hill.
That's for golfers.
Golfers? I'm kidding
I
about
haven't
it.
seen that sign.
I haven't seen
You
the
have
sign.
it?
No. Where is it?
Okay.
I plow
Parking
that.
G and H,
I don't like it.
across from,
Snow side.
Snow Creek,
Snow Creek.
Snow Creek.
Oh, the
You come
employee
out?
parking lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two signs, 100 north, go this way, 100 south, go down Inferno to West Hill. I thought,
Is that a town sign?
It's a Sugar
no,
Bush
it's a
sign.
state.
sign.
it's a-
They need to take it down then.
You
Well,
have,
that's-
you
I
have
was gonna take it
permission
down.
to take a sawzall up there.
Oh, I don't need a
Oh, no, never
sawzall.
mind,
No,
dog.
all I use is a portable drill with the right,
easy there.
bit, and your pop rivets are It's like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Boom, it's
Okay,
gone.
sign vandalism, we know who's
No,
behind
but
it.
what is?
All those missing
Put that
signs.
sign up on in front of the road, which is.
I haven't noticed that.
I don't think
I
the
did
state
notice,
put it there.
I think it said 89. I thought there was one that was. Right.
Now I'm gonna have to go look.
Please.
I haven't asked him.
I may be wrong.
I'll try to.
It definitely
remember that
says
tomorrow
go to
morning at
Dave's house.
3:30.
No, it
Dave
says
can't
going up
really
and
say.
south. You know, how many people go south from Sugar Bush? What would you say the percentage is?
I
On a
think
weekend.
a lot, but they
Like,
go
80,
Roxbury, yeah,
maybe?
yeah. They go Roxbury, but they shouldn't be coming down in front. It's a bad idea.
Right?
That's tough.
I mean, anyone going to Massachusetts, Connecticut,
I mean, they do
New
the same
York,
thing with the dump road
New
though,
Jersey.
right?
Yeah.
It literally says no through traffic and everybody just,
I can agree with him though. I plow it and I
Mm-hmm.
have to take care of West Hill like I take care of the access road or it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
parking lot
yeah.
when they're skiing. It's crazy the amount of traffic they use, but we're talking about the garage.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was gonna make that an open comment, but I can wait till the next meeting.
Good, let's do that.
Are there any questions from anyone, virtually?
I was wondering if there was any consideration for dust control. I think that, paving the road will definitely help. I know in like larger construction sites, there's often requirements to like spray down the tops of trucks or to have them covered in some way. In the past, when there's been a lot of truck usage up there, there tends to be very large dust clouds that are sort of accumulating at the beginning of Warren. So I was just wondering if there was any plan for that, I guess.
The paved road
Yeah.
should mitigate that.
The paved road's gonna take care of a lot of the dust that you see, and also the rain wash that brings dirt down onto Route 100 will pretty much disappear, I think.
With the new design, so.
With the
With
paved-
either one.
Paving.
With either design, because it'll be paved.
Stormwater management.
It'll be paved and ditch lined with.
But
grading.
what about the existing Von Brown, like where it splits? That's not proposed to be paved, so you're still gonna have runoff from
I'm
that
sure you'll do
on
an
that
apron.
apron.
There'll be an apron up 20, 30 feet, won't there?
Yeah, but
Should be.
So,
A concrete apron,
But not
No,
much
no, no.
water comes off of it.
no, just a
paved apron. off.
paved apron
Yeah,
up the Von Brown Road, so that also.
this one.
Yeah.
Well, there's current ditches on Von Braun.
Mhm.
It's-
Not a lot of water comes off of Von Brown, but in the pit road, when we can
It's
keep it
intercept-
crowned and
intercept.
reditched, I mean, last year we reditched all that and it helped a lot. But
Just that it's-
paving would be,
Paving pretty much eliminates that, did a great job at the bottom of Cider Hill, I mean, that ended
yeah.
all
I
the
was just
dust
gonna say,
issues.
it's just like Cider Hill.
Well, there's the drive, but there's also the optional pavement around the building too, if the town decides to go that route, and a concrete apron up there as well.
Yes.
Jess, is it-
Yeah, I think that answers my question. I did want to, I hear that we're not talking about, things like recreation and the safety of the intersection, that those are not, on the docket for conversation tonight. But, having lived there my entire life, there are substantial number of accidents at this intersection, and I think it is a real concern. I know we're trying to reach out to VT Trans. I think that they did a terrible job at the reconstruction of the intersection in general, which, I know is not this select board. Barry tried to prevent this from happening years and years ago, but I do have concerns about, the larger plan of the town that doesn't seem to be coming into play here, where, we're not talking about the potential for the 28 condo that might or may not go in at the bottom of School Road, or however many houses or affordable housing that's going potentially for there, or we're not going to talk about the potential for all these other things. But right now, you're talking about a lot of traffic coming in, and then future potential for a lot of traffic then coming out of Warren. So it just increases the potential for accidents. So I'm not saying that this is something, I hear that this is a very important and that topic, and that we've been trying to make this happen for 15 years. And I am supportive of, a new town garage, but I do think that there needs to be some consideration for the overall plan of what's happening here and the amount of traffic going through with, people who have affordable housing, across the street on the bottom of West Hill, for the people who have housing across the street here. There's a lot more people walking by my house than ever before, I think. I mean, it used to just be me, really, and, Dee Dee and Rocky and, Patty Sue. But now there's a lot more people because there is more affordable housing right here at the entrance of Warren. And so it's just something that I would like to echo, that it's a really scary intersection.
Thank
So.
you, Jess. We hear you. We will continue to try and improve it.
And
Yeah,
wasn't
I
there
mean-
just a pretty scary incident that just happened coming off route? Somebody came off Route 100 and right into
Slammed
yard
into the
there.
fence.
Yeah.
It took
Yeah.
out that whole
It's a very
fence.
scary intersection. It needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's, just one of many accidents that have happened. There was a kid who got in a motorcycle accident here just in the fall who ended up in my driveway, and I found his shoe in front of my, in the back of my garden a month later. Like, it's just, there are a lot of things that happen at this corner, and a lot of large trucks coming through will, increase the traffic. And I just, it's something that we really need to, I think, consider. How do we slow down not just the trucks? Because I think that out of all the vehicles, those are probably honestly the safer ones. Those are highly trained drivers who are very aware, they're professionals. But how are we slowing down or mitigating people who are coming around the corner and they see a large truck, but they're on their cell phone? Because I see people driving by my house on cell phones all the time. How do we help this intersection be more safe for all of this pedestrian and all of these things going on, all these changes that are clearly in the process of happening? Whether, I hear that people agree with them and I hear people don't agree with them. And, without any of that, I just think that the safety of that intersection should be on the forefront of our minds when we are putting in another major
Plus,
road.
the whole situation is every bit of material that gets hauled into the current site right now, salt, sand, what have you, will no longer go on Main Street.
Yeah.
And that will help considerably with traffic
Or Brook Road.
and Brook Road,
Yeah.
other than
Yeah.
normal maintenance. So that's a plus to having this site there, is that comes directly off of Route 100. I feel pulling out of Von Brown Road in a dump truck is 10 times safer than trying to pull onto Route 100 from Main Street, because your sight line is,
Absolutely.
is
We're trying to
way
pull into
better.
Brook Road.
And that's a
from-
state concern.
From
Right,
small-
and then that,
State's
that involves
responsibility.
V-Trans again.
V-Trans should be at this meeting to see how a lot of us feel about that intersection.
And I think, when we're proposing this to V-Trans, the fact that we're having another paved road coming in here where, I don't know, was there going to be allowed to have like public access to sand still from the town lot? Like if you need, I know that like people will go down to the lot by the school and grab sand for like their driveway and stuff. So I don't know if that changes with this site, but it's another major paved road where there's more traffic coming in and out. So it's something that I think we need to bring up with V-Trans again. And I don't know the correct way to mitigate that. I'm not a professional, but clearly whatever they did in this intersection now isn't working. And there's just still a lot of really scary situations. I mean, even the near misses, we hear brakes screeching all the time, I mean.
And horn blowing.
And a lot of horn blowing and, people getting cut off, and it's just not ideal. So I think, that's,
I agree,
guess.
it's a bad intersection.
Can
I
you
just
speak
don't
to this
want
at
to
all?
loop a
Well-
bad intersection with the town garage project, because I think the garage project will actually help with traffic on Main Street and Brook Road and whatnot. So I don't want to lump that together as a problem that the garage is going to create. It's a problem that we have to address already.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we have done the initial outreach to V-Trans, and that's going to continue as we go through permitting and that highway access permit. And we finalize the trip generation. So we're still having an ongoing conversation. But that initial outreach, V-Trans, did agree that there's adequate sight distance coming off on Brown Road on the Route 100 there, meaning you can see in either direction and pull out in a safe manner onto Route 100. And they also mentioned it was a low crash site, at least at Von Brown and Route 100 there too. So I think we're going to continue that conversation with V-Trans so we can work with the committee, as we move forward in design and permitting and that highway access permit in that conversation with V-Trans.
I guess what they're saying is we don't have any confidence in V-Trans.
You could also,
maybe this project will bring something
Well, that's what
to
I'm
light,
saying.
and
I don't want.
maybe it'll help out with getting something
Yeah,
done.
because they've got to pay attention.
all the way down Route 100, all the way down Route 100 through each and every town, there's a speed limit that drops down to 35. This is the only area where people speed through at that intersection at high speeds. They should be from the south end of town to the north end of town. There should be a speed limit, and coming from the north, the same thing. It should be mitigated. First thing, I don't know how V-Tran could just sign off on it and say that it was fine. It's a terrible speed hazard right there, and
They don't
nobody.
live there, that's why.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I mean,
understand.
we are unique insofar as Route 100 is not our main street, so I think that's how they've gotten away with it the way that they have, but I honestly, like, this board hears you and we agree and we're trying.
Good.
You're
The
trying,
intersection, the way it was.
you're trying versus
Wait a
applying.
minute, none of
With
used
the
to go by my
triangle?
house.
No, put the intersection back it was.
With the triangle,
No, yeah, well, just go
it
straight
had
down.
two, remember it, right? Didn't
Yeah,
it,
it was
it had
like-
two?
Yeah. it was,
With a little grass
Had
triangle in the
delineators
middle.
in the middle.
Yeah.
They used to
Well,
plow
we
it.
We
don't-
have talked about the
We don't
potential
want
of
that.
narrowing that and teeing it up, but there are some concerns for larger vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that making it closer to a 90-degree turn would be a way to slow people down. Putting a triangle in the middle is another way to slow people down. I am happy to hear that there won't be any jake braking because that is very loud in the village also. But it's no louder than like the motorcycles that go through, it's another Route 100 issue. I've always lived on Route 100, so it's not like, or like at the entrance of Route 100. So none of these things the noise is as much of a concern to me as just the safety issue. And the potential for that being complicating
And it sounds like we're
intersection.
talking about maybe two different things, Von Brown and Route 100 and Main Street and Route 100 here too, with the project being Von Brown and Route 100. Right.
Well, just the intersection of West Hill, and now Von Brown being a more used road and Main Street. It just all kind of ends up there. And, I think I've said my piece, but I just, I hope that continues to be in the forefront of our mind as we continue to develop that space, whether it's used for, the future recreation hub that doesn't seem to be on the radar anymore, or whether it's, when the town garage goes in, which sounds like it's happening. So I just, just something that I wanted to say.
And being next door and living next door to that place for 43 years now, the only problem that we had was mitigating of the sound, the slapping of the tailgates, and the jack braking coming down that road. So mitigating the sound for us would make a huge difference for us as well.
And the
'Cause
intersection.
And the intersection, it's big time if you're going to go forward with this project.
Is there a possibility of like creating a tree barrier or anything that would help mitigate sound for the Hewitts or the Hayeses, or, talk about planting some sort of tree line at a height that would help? Like, has there been any sound studies done to help those people who are affected by the sound? The sound definitely carries differently from the village than it does from them, but I know that's a concern there. So a potential creative solution might be if there was a place to plant.
Vegetation
Yeah.
usually doesn't work that well. It's usually has to be something of
Like a
of substance. It has to be
Earth,
firm,
yeah,
firm
something
or
solid.
something solid.
Would the town go along with a concrete wall 10 feet high in front of my house?
Yeah, take
Of course,
that
they'd have to
3.5
take it out of the
million
right
from
of
the
way,
road.
because my
and-
house is already in the right of way. You gotta take it out of the road, not in my house. I'm kidding.
Well, you're also building this, the site looks like you're building the main structure on the south side of the pit, so it would mitigate sound of.
That will
of-
help.
It'll help us tremendously to have the building in between us. And
That is the intention,
That was very
absolutely.
intentional, yeah.
oh, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for participating.
Welcome.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Dave.
I don't care.
Thank you all for
I use
participating.
headphones,
Yeah, I
You
got
know?
it.
Okay. So,
It will see you tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock when you come by my house.
Yeah, it'd be just a
I'm
little.
not complaining.
I
I
didn't
use
say
it as
you
an alarm
were.
clock. I get up, I go to the bathroom, and I go back to sleep.
all right, does anybody else have a question that they need to have answered tonight? Comment, question, anything? We're gonna wrap this up.
We just gotta let Sonia know in the next meeting, what you're deciding.
We will let you know. You'll hear about it. Read the Valley Reporter. We got
No, don't read the
two
Valley
top, stop, Dave. There's two top reporters on the call right now. Don't diss them.
Well, okay.
You're gonna hear all about it. Questions, concerns, and guys, thank you. This is
Yeah,
really
thank you.
helpful
Thank you
and comprehensive. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you to the team. Thank you to everybody
Consider
sitting around the table.
my being on your
Thanks, Brett.
recreational committee.
Okay, I'll be all is well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Are you adjourned?
No, we're gonna do more business, but these guys are adjourned. And
We're gonna
you
let
guys
them
can
go
stick around and watch us sign things.
Thank you.
I think I'm.
It's really awesome. Everyone loves it.
Yeah, go ahead. You're not-
I gotta get up earlier.
Good.
Although you're gonna be.
No, I
3 to 5.
I get up when I hear Chris go by. I'm like, oh,
That's
wow.
not around until like 5.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I sleep in that?
Sure.
You know what the access road is?
You're gonna get older. You're still young. guys.
It's red in there.
Bye.
All right, let's take a minute. Yeah, let's take a minute and just chill out. We'll take a recess. Recess.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah.
I think, more interaction with V-Trans, because up until a couple of years ago.
So, V-Trans,
Fifty just before you got to Sugarbush Access Road heading south.
V-Trans has been working on the 17 and 100 junction for about 25 years now. So how long do you think it'll take us? Not as long, because we're not that other, but just saying, a roundabout. You heard it here first.
Appreciate the time you put in.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you all.
And thank you, Rebecca.
No problem.
Need a coordination.
No, I try. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way.
Coming. Nice to see you.
No.
See that? Oh my God, I know, I'm sorry.
That's conflict of interest. You can't talk about that now.
Every
That's
time
work.
I drive by.
You can't talk about that. It's a conflict of interest.
She wasn't in the meeting. She's now in the meeting.
Okay. No, the meeting just recessed. We hadn't stopped. So anyway, we are back to business, and I would like to hear a appointment from Camilla for the Cemetery Commission.
Yes, I would like to suggest that the board appoint Julie Burns to the Cemetery Commission to finish Michelle Ide's term, which she's recently stepped down from. So it would be until the end, well, until town meeting day. If we could
Is
appoint
Julie
her.
running? Is Julie running?
I believe she is, yes, she's
Okay, so she's got her
intending to run.
paperwork in.
Yeah.
So do I have a second?
Second,
Does anybody not know Julie or have questions about this job? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The ayes clearly have it. All right, that's done. Do we have stuff to sign?
Yep.
And Josie, are you just visiting?
Just observing.
Observing? Okay.
Getting your bearings.
Getting to know us.
I've got a
Careful,
job for you.
Andy's punchy tonight.
You handle these?
No,
No.
please
Yes,
Well, we
yes,
started
yes, yes. You need to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Did you bring us dinner? Sorry.
I move to approve accounts payable in the amount of $121,725.23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, let's see. That was accounts payable. Where's accounts payable?
He's good at getting you.
It's
I
all
know.
put together.
He's just trying to get you comfy.
Dude. Accounts payable.
There's 3 of them.
Oh, thank you. All right, and now,
I move to approve payroll in the amount of $19,006.67.
Sorry. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I have a minutes of January 7th.
Look at us go. Thanks, Carol. Speedy.
I sent you all for the 14th.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And one last item,
2 last items.
two
Yeah.
last items. One is a second-class license for Sugarbush Mountain Resort. For which entity, which
I think it's
place?
Paradise.
Paradise?
Yeah, I think it's on the second page.
Paradise Provisions for a second-class license.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, lots of thought or something.
Guess we just sign that anyway. And then this one, I believe, is gonna be
I
for
like that.
Ollie's, right?
Yeah.
First-class restaurant and bar license for Ollie's, which is doing business as Eastern Ridge Nordic LLC. Do I have, this is the guy at Ollie's that we
Yes.
gave him the third
Josh.
class, but he forgot to ask for a first class or something like that.
Yes.
Josh Cadet, yes.
Second.
No, you need,
Move to approve.
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have yet to go for a drink. Well, they didn't have any.
Right, would have been,
Spirits. He had spirits.
Oh, I
All
thought
right.
we only had beer and wine.
that,
That won't, now, you'll now have beer night.
Oh, my God.
that's all I got on the table, folks. Anybody got any other reasons to stay?
No. Move to adjourn.
No, that-
Can we just talk
Oh,
about when
yeah.
we're gonna meet to finalize the budget?
Yes.
Oh, this week we
Oh,
have to
yeah.
meet.
Mhm.
That's good catch.
Tomorrow?
Oh,
I thought it was
Um,
tomorrow.
so you guys had something you couldn't do.
We have 3:30 to 5 that we can't do tomorrow.
Okay. I can do anytime afternoon tomorrow. Or
Oh, I can't
Thursday.
do during the day.
Ever?
Tomorrow.
What about Thursday?
don't think I can do
Thursday's
Thursday.
For
Uh,
me.
Friday?
Is tomorrow evening not an option? Like
Tomorrow
after
is-
5
It's an option
or
for me.
5:30?
Tomorrow, what time do you get done? 5 o'clock,
Yeah,
5:30?
we'll be
5, we'll be done at 5.
Tomorrow at 5?
15?
Sure. It's gonna be quick, right? It's gonna be less than an hour.
Yeah, we're 99% there.
How about tomorrow at 5?
15.
5?
Yep.
5,
Let
12.
them go pee, 12, 5:12,
5:12.
5:17? Sorry, I'm done.
You're pushing it.
I saw that, Camilla.
All right, so tomorrow, whenever after 5 that we all get there,
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
that's when we'll make
Did
sure.
she smack me on the hand
proper.
again? Or did she roll her eyes at me?
Right?
Yeah, she's hilarious.
The eye roll is the virtual smack.
Okay, good.
So, we have a motion to adjourn. I need a second.
Second.
I moved, she seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Good night, guys.
Feel
Good night.
better,
Nice
Kara.
work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa. Good night, Jess.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Moon.
Good night.